Hi, I'm Dad.
Hi, I'm Jack, and welcome to episode 4 of our review series, where we review games that do not have many video reviews. So, this is Hot Red Creeps. If you've watched the other videos, you know that I've been wanting to review this.
He hates it.
So let's take a look. Dun, 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 dun. Come up. So, there's 5 different factions or racers or whatever. You have the aliens, the underworld.
Here's your player board for the aliens. Have a spot for your engine upgrade, weapon upgrade, wheels upgrade,
And we'll talk about upgrades
and
later.
pit crew upgrade.
And there's Rockabilly. Food fight.
And that's
That's one of his other games that he
yeah.
made, Food Fight.
So Matt Hyra designed this. He also designed the hockey game we reviewed for episode 1. And another one of his games, which we also own, is called Food Fight. So there's actually a faction that references that.
And then there's Battle Wizards. And then Monsters. So, in Hot Red Creeps, you get to build your own racing track.
That is one of the cooler elements.
Yeah. I love customization in games.
He does, and so do I. And there's a lot of customization tabled. You can make a really super long track. You can make a super short one. You can have it where you start and then just go one time to the finish, or you could do some sort of loop where you go around and around in laps.
Like the hammer track that I made.
I thought these were kind of odd, cool but odd. I mean, these are your cars, so nice and sturdy, hefty, but don't really remind me of cars though. I'll also say in terms of components, one thing I thought was a negative for this game.
They don't always fit the best.
Yeah, so you can try to put them in there. It's like a puzzle, and
But with pieces that don't fit.
Yeah, with pieces that aren't meant to go together. It seems like sometimes.
On the roads, sometimes they will have this. That was for an expansion that was never made.
It's true.
Sad, very sad.
They do have a lot of. There's a lot of atmosphere in this game. A lot of theme, if you will, just a stand that's not even crucial to the game itself, but that adds flavor. Same here. Flaming Ring of Fire, which we have yet to actually use.
Yeah, I hear it's tricky. And there's a shark tank, which we have to use.
Yeah, and the shark tank. So let's get this box out of here.
We build our track.
So, yeah, you build your track, you pick a faction, and I guess I'll go ahead and say these are the rules. Pretty straightforward. I was actually surprised how big the rule book is, given how actually simple the game is. I guess some of it is like sample tracks and so on, and explaining some of the hazards, which are another thing we didn't actually mention. So there's also, when you're making the track, you can put these little hazard tokens on the track at different places, kind of wherever you want, really. So I could put one, on this spot. Oops. The other side, so you can either use the tile as a hazard, or the other side will mark corners. Corners will indicate, basically, you're going to play on your turn. You're going to play a card which will indicate a speed, and if you are passing that corner space with a speed of that number or higher, then you're going to have to, in this case, take 2 damage. It depends on which one it is. Corner 5 or higher, it's a little less risky. It's take 1 damage.
And 3, you have to destroy an upgrade.
Yeah, so if it's some of the really tight turn, you have to destroy an upgrade. So that definitely factors into your strategy. So mentioned that there's upgrades. There's 4 different types of upgrades. Wheel upgrade.
Engine.
And the wheels help you when you draft. So anytime
that you would land on a space where another car is, you'd actually draft and hop over it.
Which is pretty cool. And so wheels make that even more beneficial. And then there's engine, which reward going faster, like playing a card that lets you move 4 or 5 spaces or 6.
I made a trap.
4 or 5 and 6. 6 is the absolute highest, right?
Yeah.
Unless you're doing nitro. More on that in a moment. Weapon upgrades. This naturally lets you, attack others. So pretty cool. There's a bunch of different ones.
Evil eyes.
Yeah.
Torpedo sandwiches.
There's there are a bunch of goofy ones. Here's some of the engine ones. The wheels, which I mentioned earlier. The artwork. Now, I've seen some people in other reviews, they were kind of down on the art. I actually think it's pretty cool. I don't know about you.
We need more of this art.
So he's a big fan too. And the pit crew, so they're you'll pit occasionally. You have to do that when your deck's running low. Otherwise, you'll run out of gas. And so,
or if you want upgrades.
Yeah, so when you pit, you can either refill your tank or pick an upgrade. And then the pit crew will actually give you added incentive to pit. It'll help you even more. The way you acquire upgrades is by pitting, and that's also how you refill your tank. And so when you are playing a card, right, you're going through your deck, and what is it, a deck of 21, I think, cards? It's supposed to be 21, I'm pretty sure. And so when you're getting low on that, you got to be careful and try to pit as soon as possible, because if you run out of cards in your deck and in your hand, then you're out of gas and you have to move backwards
to the nearest pit.
To the nearest pit stop.
So, like, in this track, if you ran out of gas right here, you'd have to go whee!
Yeah, assuming we were going this way. Yeah, you forgot the start space, but that's all right. So we'll just show them that one. You see where it is? So
no, I couldn't find it.
They're back here. So these are the start spaces. Whoever.
Well, I couldn't find the number 1.
Well, there's not a number 1. It just starts with 2. Really? So yep. So it starts like that. The first 2 people will only start with 2 cards in their hand. Third and fourth, position to start the game will have 3 cards in hand. So there's a little bit of a benefit to being further back. You get more cards in your hand, and also I think it's not bad at all being back further, because the drafting is really important in this game. So last thing, sort of as far as gameplay to show you, are this nitro deck. So what you can do on your turn is you can either play a card from your hand, you can flip a card from the top of your deck, you can draw 2 cards?
Draw
4 cards, that's right. Or you can play a card from the nitro deck. Now this is pretty cool. It's a high risk, high reward sort of deal. A lot of them will let you move,
but some of them make you move 0.
Yeah, so sometimes you'll get, where is that card? There's some with 9. Cards. That's awesome to be able to move 9 spaces.
But you also burn a lot of fuel.
But sometimes you'll come across that where you just do nothing. Or, some of these 9s, you have to burn, 9 cards off your tank. So you're going to be going through your deck super fast. So those are the 4 things you can do. Where I was going to show, get one of these out. Show them, kind of how the cards look. So each faction has their own unique feel, and it describes that in the rule book, and they really do feel significantly different.
Like if you are being food fight, you feel like you've been fried in an oven.
Well, what does it do in terms of gameplay? I don't remember what they do, but the aliens are all about, wasn't it, upgrades?
Yeah.
Right. So
the aliens are about getting upgrades as fast as possible.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things in their deck that will sort of cater to getting upgrades and keeping upgrades. Some of them are about, I forgot which one it was, but one of them is about the nitro deck. Really caters to
battle wizards.
Caters to the nitro deck. So they definitely feel different. So here's an example of a card from the monsters deck. So what this means is you move 2 spaces, and you also resolve the text, any text at the bottom. Now there's kind of a catch there. So this one you'd resolve the text whether you played it from your hand or if you flipped it from the top of your deck.
But some of them are flip only.
So what that means is you would always move, right, whatever the number is up here. Then when it comes to resolving the text, you only do it, in this case, if you flipped it from the top of your deck.
Or sometimes it's only if you played it from your hand.
Right, so in that case, if you flipped it from the top of the deck, you would still move the number that it said, but you wouldn't resolve the text. And there are, I don't know if I mentioned this already, but one of the factions it's all about, it really caters to doing, flipping from the top of your deck. I forgot which one that was, but
I think that was Underworld.
maybe. So that's just the game. You're kind of going, obviously around the track. Drafting definitely comes into play. The pitting is important and strategic as well, because you got to try to, hold on to the right cards. There is a lot of, I don't want to say it's necessarily highly strategic, but you're trying to. There's actually a fair amount of things to think about, because you want to hold on to the right cards, especially when you're coming up on turns.
Yeah.
You want to make sure.
You don't want to take damage or kill them.
Right. So you want to make sure you're keeping a low value card to safely maneuver through the turn. When do you play that high value, high number like a 5?
And so you also put hazards on the track.
Yeah, I mentioned that. What are some of the different hazards? Yeah, I mentioned that earlier.
Oil slick.
What's that one do?
Burn 3 cards off your tank, and some of them are actually good, like Sponsors Row. You get to draw an upgrade.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So you're also then trying to plan ahead in terms of the number of spaces, right, and play the card at the right time. But then, of course, other opponents, when they're on a space, right, they might block you by being right on that space you're planning to go to, and in which case you'll draft, but maybe you wanted the pit stop, but that forces you ahead, so you might miss it. So a lot of things like that is a surprising amount of, I guess, sort of planning ahead.
Yeah.
So, which I
you don't really do in racing. So.
Yeah, I guess it's more of a tactical respond to what's happening in the moment. I would say versus real life, right? This is more strategic, maybe. Jack and I talked about the difference between strategy and tactics. I don't know if you remember that discussion. Not too long ago. It was a meaningful discussion. It was like last week. He has just as bad of a memory as I do already. I think we covered most of the gameplay, so you're just going to go around and you sort of dictate how long the game's going to take, in the sense that, how long your track is or how many laps around.
And what cards you play like. If you play come on. Like, you might play a 2, and the game might go not as fast as if you had played a 5. So.
And I really do like the Nitro deck, because that kind of keeps everyone in it, even if somebody's pretty far ahead. I feel like all of our races are pretty close. Like, you never feel like you're completely out of it. And the Nitro deck is probably the reason why, because no matter how far behind you are, you could get
I
nines.
got ahead in that one game when I was 9 spaces away. I drew a 9.
Oh, that's right. And he went around. Wasn't it like you went around the corner?
Yeah,
and you would have ran out of gas, but he finished in 1 anyway. So he would have been out of gas. I don't remember exactly how it worked, but the Nitro pushed him ahead past the finish line, and then he was able to avert whatever negative consequence he would have normally taken.
Take that, consequences!
So yeah, here again is an example of the player board. So I usually keep my deck on there, and then the discard pile next to it, and then your different upgrades. I think that's most of the good summary of the gameplay. Do you have anything else to add in terms of the gameplay?
No.
I think we covered most of it. All right, how about...
Oh, when you pit and you don't get an upgrade, you just shuffle your discard into your deck.
Yeah, so you don't want to run out of gas, right? Oops. So, you take it and you shuffle it right back into your deck. So then you filled up with gas. You don't have to worry about that anymore. Anything else? Do you want to start us off with pros and cons?
Sure. So for a pro, I like that it's a racing game. You don't really, I don't really see that many. Well, yeah, I guess you do. There are quite a few racing games.
Roadkill Rally, Russian Crush, but anyway, you like racing games.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Especially when you get to blow people up while you're racing. That's an added bonus.
Yeah, if I can jump in, I would say that what I found cool about this game is that there's a lot going on. At first, I was kind of nervous, seeing that there's a Nitro deck and there's all these upgrades and there's, these, what do they call them, hazards. There's so much going on. I was kind of nervous that it would be tedious to learn and sort of a lot to keep track of. But a credit to the designer, Matt Hyra. It's very streamlined. It's incredibly simple, really. I mean, you pick it up right away, like your first few turns, and then you have it. So for all that's included in the game, it's surprisingly simple and easy to play. So, and I did like how, you know, there is that nitro deck. There are these upgrades. You know, you do have a lot of different things you can focus on to try to get ahead. So big plus for me was again how sort of varied and how much varied the game is and how much was included, and yet at the same time how simple the gameplay still remains. So you like the racing aspect.
Yeah.
What else do you like? You always play as the aliens, so you must like the alien faction.
I like the aliens.
A
pro is probably these.
So he likes those.
I like these pieces.
They are neat in the sense, I guess not neat, but good in the sense that they're hefty and you don't have to worry about them sliding all over. I just think they're kind of odd for a racing game. Like, how is this a vehicle? I guess the sticker shows them in the car, but.
Well, they're a vehicle because when you're a rock, you can hop. Sort of.
It's one way to look at it. So yeah, the components I say are kind of hit and miss. I mean, for the most part, I'd say they're pretty good. I am a fan of the art, and you are too.
Yeah.
So, not that these are bad; they're just kind of odd choice in my mind.
Yeah, but they're still awesome. My mind.
Okay. I guess the big negative, it's not a huge deal. It's just, again, how difficult they can be to put together and then keep together the race track pieces. Any other pluses and negatives?
No.
Yeah, I mean, we already mentioned kind of the things that I liked.
So keep in mind that we haven't mentioned the flaming ring of fire because we haven't actually played with it.
Yeah, we haven't actually, and probably next game we will, but we want to keep things kind of simple. We played this, maybe five, 6 times? Yeah, so something like that, but we'll be incorporating that in the next game.
Flaming ring of fire incorporated.
So yeah, I guess that's really all we have to say for pluses and minuses, pros and cons, however you want to put it. So I'll go ahead and rate the game. I give it a solid 6.8. Definitely a game I'll play pretty much anytime, and one that I really appreciate because anytime that he's excited and enthusiastic about a game, it's even better. So that's a very solid score for me. What do you give it?
I forgot what my old rating was, but I've got to give it this.
A 9, no .06 or anything like that this time?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, wait. I will give him 8.99999.
Okay. Why don't you just, do you know what repeating is? Let's put a line over that.
Okay.
Not quite a 9. But.
No.
So Board Game Geek rates it 4,350. That's pretty much right where I think it would be. Right about where I think it would be. Yeah, so, I mean, matches where I think it would be. What do you think? That's about where you think it should be ranked?
Well,
maybe you would say it's a little underrated. Like
What is it?
16,000 or 18,000 or something like that. So
Yeah.
top 25%. You might say, given your score, it's a little underrated, but
Yeah.
anyway, that's Hot Rod Creeps. We hope you enjoyed our review.
Oh, now the eyeballs.
Yeah, what he said.
It's got a new hatch.
Stay tuned for our next review. Thanks for watching.
See the hatch.